let's be real here. If you have a poor ability to practice patience, then it probably means that you have impulsivity issues. And if you have impulsivity issues, it likely means that you have poor emotional regulation skills. Let's talk instant gratification here with the detail, Ramon Phipps. Generally speaking, instant gratification is usually in reference to our wants, our desires to forego a future benefit in order to get any reward we can right here and right now. I usually see this as the most problematic mental concern for people that are experiencing mental illness or even addiction. Now, instant gratification tends to drive our overall life in these particular conditions where we may have overwhelming emotions that we find it hard to manage and cope, so we just succumb to them right here and right now. This can sometimes lead us into using drugs and alcohol in order to numb our pain, or possibly yelling and screaming at somebody because we just have so much boiling emotion. These things in themselves are all based on this impulsivity, this lack of ability to practice self-awareness, be mindful in the moment, and then choose our next direction based on this response to our stress. We allow ourselves to just be carried by our stress, leading us into our next action. And this is a problem. What are the drawbacks to instant gratification anyways? Well, let's look at it as from the perspective of childbearing. If you had a kid that was going through their developmental stages and just learning the world for the first time, oftentimes we commit to creating restrictions or boundaries to their overall behaviors, such as a child is not going to eat everything he wants. Mommy, I want candy. Mommy, I want ice cream. Mommy, I want cake all at once just for breakfast. Probably not going to get that. Although he wants it, although there's this huge temptation and desire for it, mommy knows best. She knows that's not going to be healthy for them. She knows it's going to only create more hyperactive attitudes, and it's not going to be good for anybody. Or another way to look at this, a child that just wants to do too much, like go out and hang out with friends till late at night, never tell their parents where they're going. Well, I mean, independence is very important 100% for that individual, for that child. They want it, and they want it right now. They don't want to wait until they're adults. They don't want to wait until they are considered to have more mental maturity. They just want it, and they want it right now. But for a parent, again, they may look at that situation and be worried about all the threats or all the dangers and hazards that are available to them in the world outside if they did not apply restrictions to their life. Instant gratification is only your id talking. What is the id? Well, it's your pleasure-seeking brain. It's instinctual. It's not anything to be ashamed of whatsoever. In fact, it has to do with your most important part of your brain. Well, one of the most important, being your limbic system. Something that's driven from dopamine, something that wires our survival mechanisms. And for us to want it here and now is the exact same reason why we have different mental phases of productivity or even of mindfulness, because we're able to train our brain to do these very interesting things based on those same neurochemicals. Dopamine. Sometimes dopamine gets away from us though. Sometimes it's driven by its own wants and desires, because your brain doesn't care about what's healthy, what's unhealthy, what's good or bad. It only cares about feeling good. And that's where the frontal part of your brain comes in. Your executive function skill sets is stored in your prefrontal cortex. This is our ability to make sound decisions. Imagine this. If I presented to you $100 right now, and I told you that if you waited 1 minute, then I will give you $101, would you wait that 1 minute? Some of you would say, yes, I would wait that 1 minute. To gain the extra dollar, it seems to be a very beneficial initiative. Some of you wouldn't wait that 1 minute because your overall cost-benefit analysis in your mind is that $1 more is not going to really make or break this whole deal for you. Take this other scenario. If I presented to you $100 right now and I say you can have it, no strings attached. But if you waited 1 week, then I will award you with $10,000, no strings attached. Would you wait that 1 week? Or would you take this $100 right now? Again, some people would have said yes to this. I would 100% wait that 1 week because I will be earning a lot more in the future if I were just to practice a little bit of patience. Some individuals out there, again, depending on the circumstances of your life, if you need $100 right now, and it's the difference between you paying your rent or not, then that $100 is going in your pocket with the quickness. This is, again, how our stress tends to control our overall ability to make sound decisions. With instant gratification, it's all based on your interests and the things that you deem are important to you. You may be waiting in line at the grocery store, and you may actually have a very self-centered attitude where you think that your time is more valuable than anyone else's. Therefore, this cashier needs to hurry up. That's instant gratification talking. That's your mind, your id, your dopamine, your survival mechanism telling you that your time is more precious than anyone else's. And you got to get to the front of the line because you have stuff to do. When objectively, no one really cares about you and what your obligations are for the day. Instant gratification keeps us locked into our own mind. And that's problematic because when you're driven from self-interested desires, wants, and needs, then that can lead to you trampling over other people's needs or even their own human experience. For example, if you had so much emotion that you did not take the time to cope with it because you just gotta let it all out, then you're probably gonna damage a relationship in the future. With all the yelling, with all the screaming, with all these arguments where you always have to be right, you just want to feel that gratification. And again, we're driven to feel this gratification because we're driven to want to seek dopamine. But when these pursuits towards instant gratification tends to override our ability to practice patience, it means that it's taken away our executive function control of our ability to moderate our stress and, of course, look past the momentary reward and benefit so that we can gain something more in the future. This becomes a lot more important for people dealing with relationship dysfunctions. Maybe you have trouble in the marriage or issues with your children, whatever it may be. Usually in regard to relationships, everyone has needs and everyone's trying to have their needs accomplished. Yet, we fail to see how our needs are very much similar to other people's needs. And they have needs, I have needs, we all have needs, and we fail to actually look at this factor of our problems. We just focus on what we want and what we need. And our pursuits of this as us overreacting in situations, letting our emotions run wild, or even seeking safety behaviors in order to get a need accomplished instantly, right away. We can't keep doing this to ourselves. Because in a sense, back to that child example, you're going to be like that child that's calling for the ice cream, the candy, the lollipops for breakfast. Because you're just driven from your pleasure. You're just driven from your wants. And for that child, they have an excuse. They don't understand the value of patience, and they don't understand the necessity of recognizing other people's needs in a social interaction. But for me, as an adult, for you, where you are right now, you got to be willing to look at this. Because if you allow impulse to continue to drive your life, then you will find no gratification. Because eventually, you'll be left with so many holes in different pockets of your life, such as damaged relationships, poor mental health, poor emotional control, issues with your finances that will likely come from impulsive habits, again, like spending excessively, going to the slots too much, seeking this gratification when you're giving away so much of your life and yourself right here and right now. Instant gratification helps nobody. Patience helps people. How can we help cultivate this? Well, guys, that's where mindfulness comes in. Now, I always encourage you, practice any of these mindful meditations or even look at some of the talks I have on how we can cultivate our mindfulness skill sets here on this channel. And with this in itself, you're coming to find that instant gratification is not something that you ever needed. However, patience is something that you definitely deserve to grant yourself, because that just means that you're improving your mind over and over and over again. To sit here and wait. To wait. Sounds easy, right? For some people, this is extremely hard. But beyond that, stay mindful.